All right. So just to let you know, this meeting is being recorded. Therefore, if you do not want to be recorded, you need to exit the room at this moment. Otherwise, your continued presence here in this virtual meeting is an indication that you are okay to be recorded. But not afternoon, evening, possibly night somewhere, but good evening. I am Ebony Walker. I am your Region 3 Women in Engineering Coordinator, and you are welcome to join us tonight at our monthly region-wide meeting. One of these April region-wide meeting. One of the reasons we conduct these monthly meetings is because it's just the fact that we have nearly 600 WE members throughout the region. However, not everybody has a local WE chapter yet with which they can participate. Therefore, we try to make it as easy as possible for members to be able to connect with other WE members from around the region, should they not have any local WE members to connect with at this moment. But that's why we're here. And one of the things we like to do is be able to hear from our members about what they like, what their careers are like, what has their journey been like, what are their passions, what are their hobbies, just whatever you would like to present on. We just, once again, want to be able to foster those relationships and connections. And that's what brings us out each night. Just a bit of an overview of what we're going to have going on this evening. If my slide changes. Finally. But that was your greeting. Next, we're going to have our speaker introduction. We're going to have a great presentation, I believe, tonight. And then we'll finish up with what announcements I do have. It's not a lot for this month. Things are kind of quiet in WE world. And then we'll adjourn. We won't keep you long. But with that being said, how about we get on to the introduction? Our speaker tonight is Indu Unni. I met her back during February, actually, because she had the idea, how about the region host a Women History Month event? And she spearheaded and led our event that we had back on March 19th. So right after Southeast Con, for those of us who had to participate with that. But we had a great panelists of 4. Indu was one of the panelists, so was I, along with 2 other ladies, and we had a great moderator where we talked about women and sustainability. I don't remember the exact title, but yeah, women and sustainability, and it was a really great presentation. And if you ever want to see that, you sometimes see in the messages I mentioned, you can check out our YouTube channel where we've put some of those recordings up, and I'm working to put more. But she's a senior engineering manager at Electronic Arts. She's been into the software design and development thing for over 13 years. So when she talks, you know, she has a wealth of experience that she's pulling from. She has her master's degree in computer science from Georgia Tech. Was it Ramblin' Rex or Georgia Tech or something like that? And of course, she says she's passionate about driving innovation and building resilient software systems. And she's dedicated to sharing her insights and empowering teams to excel in the evolving world of technology. So that's Indu Unni. She's presenting tonight. Let me go back to the title, Level Up, the Quest from IC to Leadership. And with that, I will get off of here and allow her to share her slides, hopefully.
Thank you, Ebony. Let me now try from my end on the sharing. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, let me see if I can make you the presenter. All right.
Presenter view. Give me 1 second. Okay, share. Okay.
I see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Give me 1 second. Okay. So, hey everyone, my name is Indu Unni, and today I want to share my journey from being an IC to manager role. So, like Ebony said, I have been in the software industry for 13 plus years, now almost 14 years. And the reason I call this a quest from IC to manager is because for me, literally, it was, trying to achieve a quest. It was not like a big moment where suddenly changed and I'm now ready to be, a manager. It was a series of experiences, decisions, and lessons, and a totally mindset change that I had, to move from being an IC to being a manager. A lot of people assume management is simply like, the next promotion that you get after being a strong individual contributor, but in reality it is a very different role. It asks you to shift from solving problems yourself to enabling others and to give way to others, actually. So that's one of the main things that I feel is there in when you move from being an IC to a manager. It asks you to think beyond execution and focus on communication, priority, alignment, and growth, not just for yourself, but for the team and for the people that you are responsible for. And in the session today, I will share not just my career path, but some practical thoughts on why someone might choose management, what really matters during that transition, and how can you start preparing for this role change, right? If you have decided that, okay, hey, I want to go into the management path, I want to see what it means to be a manager, how can you start preparing yourself? And some of the barriers that comes from within, and maybe some barriers that are external that comes in your way. My hope is that by the end of the session, it will feel like, an abstract career step, and it'll feel less like an abstract career step and more like something that's real, practical, and possible. A quick introduction. I know Ebony just gave me one, but I have around 13 plus years of experience in this industry. I was an software engineer for almost 11 plus to 12 years before, 12 years before I moved to the management role. I moved in December of 2024. And shortly before that, I have been acting as a manager. And I have worked in different roles, starting from being at the very base, starting at an associate software developer, all the way till an architect. And I have had the opportunity to work across global teams. We have teams in Vancouver, we have teams in the US, we have teams in India, and I have worked in both US and India. So, I have the experience of understanding how the different work culture is, how the team culture and the work culture is in both places. Just a quick overview of my journey. I started as a associate software developer in Accenture back in India in 2011. Shortly after that, I came to the US, and in 2012, I joined Florida Blue, which is a health insurance company and a BCBSFL affiliate here in Florida, so in Jacksonville, and I joined there as a software engineer. The technology at the time that I was working was a CRM tool called Siebel. Then continued there for 3 years, and in 2015 I moved back to India, and at that time I moved as a senior engineer, and again working on, there's a technology shift, I started working in Java. And then in 2017 I came back to the US again for Florida Blue. So a lot of my journey, my career, the growth, the experience I have gained, it's from Florida Blue. That's the client for which I have worked for a long time. And 2017 back to the US. And then I joined EA in 2021. I started as a contractor for a year, and then I applied for a full-time position and converted to a full-time software engineer in 2022. And then in 2024, I converted from an IC to a manager. So you see, it's like, it's a long journey. It started from India. There is a lot of back and forth across, different continents even, and then back in different roles, being contractor, being a full-time. So it was not a straightforward path. It was a long journey, and all the experiences that I had, it really contributed to where I am right now. So the first question is, why IC to management? This will actually be different for different people. So, for me, one of the reasons, or these are the three reasons for me to even think about, hey, why should I take this shift right now? And first one is like new challenges. So it's a funny story. So I went to a conference. So there was this conference in Orlando. It was called Women on the Rise. I believe it was in 2023. So I went there. I met a lot of amazing women there. So we had this conversation about, the career journey. And I for me, it was, I have always been an engineer. So, so one of the comments was, always been an engineer. Why didn't you try anything else? Why was it so impossible, or what was impossible? So that literally really, made me think on, why did I not think for something else? Because I have been in different roles, I have solved different challenges that comes with the role. This is one aspect of it that I have never touched. So that was something that really, triggered something in me to say, okay, might be an opportunity to take the next step. So new challenges, I have seen there are a lot of people in my life, who are role models for me, and have seen them lead, being people manager, being the manager or a director level, and they have inspired me a lot. So that is one of the reasons, one of, to face new challenges, and to have larger problems and take broader ownership. Second, growth opportunities. There is a certain path that you can go, being an IC. The management, it opens up a very different kind of growth. So when you're an IC, you will usually deepen your expertise in a domain or a technology, and you just widen into like a technical architecture and beyond. But as a manager, you can grow in areas that are much beyond the scope of this, like people development, decision making, strategies, stakeholder communication, and organizational awareness. And that's a very different skill set, I would say. And it is a challenge, and every day brings new challenge for this, because you will have to solve a different set of problems with a different set of team, with a different set of organization, or wherever you go. So that was another reason why I was like, okay, maybe I can do the shift from being an IC to a manager. So it was where it opened up a lot of opportunity for me. And again, it depends on what is the career path that one wants to follow. For me, I do want to work in an area that offers me growth, and much more, and challenges. At the same time, it's something that I love to do as well. The third reason is, well, I love talking to people. I love to network. The energy that you get from collaboration and coaching, and helping others succeed, it is something that's completely different. And again, one thing I realized once I became a manager is, doing this without having the title and without being directly responsible for someone is completely different from doing this when you are actually the manager for someone and responsible for them. What matters, right? So even before being, so when I wanted to do this, so this was in 2024, I just finished my master's. So I did not do anything in the 3 years from 2022 to 21 to 24, because I was doing my master's, I was doing my job, so it was already too much. And by May 2024, once I graduated, I was like, I did not have an extra challenge in my life. So honestly, that was another reason too. So I was like, okay, I want to take up something else and, challenge myself in a different way. At the same time, fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know, one way or the other, there was an opening for a senior manager in my team. So I did ask, hey, can I apply for this role? And my manager was like, okay, yeah, go ahead and apply. So I did apply. I went through the interview process, and I did not get that position. But one good thing that came out of it was, they came back with the feedback, and they said, you do have the potential. These are the areas that you have to grow in based on the interview feedback. Let's work on that. And if this is really something you want, let's work on it and see how you progress in the next 6 months. And if there is an opportunity, we will consider you for it. So that was really a great achievement for me, because I never one there was this lack of confidence always in my back of my mind, like, hey, well, whether I will be able to make it or not. So the imposter syndrome, it always kicks in. But this really boosted my morale, and I was like, okay, that's a good step. So I accepted that opportunity, to be mentored by somebody. So that's the first thing here. What matters? Taking leadership without title. So when that mentorship came, it meant, hey, you are going to take up the responsibility of being a manager. So you will work on team priorities, you will work on alignment, you will work on grooming the team, setting the direction, all of that, minus the people management, because unfortunately I cannot do people management without having the actual title. So that was actually a good step for me, stepping into that role, learning how to do the things that a manager does. How do you set the team priorities? How do you uh, resolve the conflicts? Those were really big steps for me at that point. So the first thing that matters is be open to taking leadership without title, right? You don't need to be titled as a senior manager in order for you to start acting like one. Second one is knowing the priorities. So how do you set yourself apart is by, whenever you are there, take the lead, identify the priorities, know what needs to be done at this moment versus what can be pushed out to the next 3 months. So identifying the priorities, taking that lead, openly in your team meetings, and taking ownership, that's what mattered when I was in that journey, in the initial 6 months journey. Being proactive. So always be proactive about this. So again, even whether it's asking for the opportunity, or taking the leadership roles without this, always be proactive. Because one thing I learned is, even if you have that, if even if you have the skill set or someone identified, there is nobody who is going to come and give you a title and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you this title. You have to ask for it. You have to be proactive. You have to know what you want. Look out for the opportunities where it is, and that's how you get it. There is nobody's going to give you anything if you stay silent. So that is one thing I learned, throughout this career. That has been one thing. Ask for what you think you deserve, and if you don't get it, at least as long as they have an explanation, that's fine, but work for it. If there is a feedback, take it and work for it. Again, working with supported teams and leaders. So this was, not everybody gets this opportunity, but again, this really matters too, right? When you work, for me at least, I'm being I think I'm one of the fortunate ones where I had very supportive team and management, where they were willing to lend me their time and the knowledge, the experience, and groom me into the manager that I am today. So always step up when you can, be proactive, and ask for the opportunity that you deserve. So again, this is just going into those details. So taking leadership without the title, we just spoke about it. Always come up with ideas that you can simplify, or some processes that you can simplify, or even just improve how the team works on a day-to-day. Other things are like, you can take up leadership roles in other parts of your organization or even outside, right? Communities or forums like IEEE is one good place where you can start taking leadership roles. Or maybe if your company have ERGs or any other community forums, step up there and take the leadership role. Anything and everything that you do in the leadership position, it gives you an experience and learning in one way or the other. So don't hesitate, reach out to the people, ask for that opportunity, and step up into those roles, even if it's not in the team that you want or in the area that you want. Anything in leadership, any experience, it's always adding to your wealth of knowledge. Prioritize. So in 2023, I went for the Grace Hopper conference. So this was one of the things, one session there, the red balloon theory on prioritization. So it was, I think that was one of the sessions that stuck with me for such a long time, because how do you understand your priorities, right? As a team, I know in the agile world, priorities change, but how do you keep up with it, right? How do you understand what really matters? Because when you're an IC, what matters to you is the task that you work on, right? There is nothing else that matters to you. You get a task, I'm fully focused on it, I deliver it on time, that's my focus. But when you take that shift and you take a step back and look at it from the perspective of being a leader or a manager, you have a vast pool of things that you need to get done, and you have limited resources. So with changing priorities, how do you manage this without impacting the way your team works? Because one of the things is like, constant change can also bring about confusion in the team, and they might not be as willing or open to change as well, because that means context switching, right? Or switching focus every now and then. So how do you know your priority? So the red balloon theory, I'll give you like a quick overview. So it is like, the story goes like this. So there was a session, it's like a leadership session where a bunch of leaders were there, and they are now being trained on prioritization. So they were in a room, and the room was full of balloons. Okay. And the task given to them was like, in 1 minute, catch as many balloons as possible. And the timer started. All these leaders, they started catching as many balloons as they can. And by the end of the minute, they were like all happy, and they were like, okay, yes, we got, they were now counting, as a team. They were split into teams. So they're like, okay, they're counting how many balloons they got. Now the moderator of session is asking, how many of you have the most number of the red balloons? So that's when everybody was like, nobody told us you have to catch the red balloon. It was just said the balloon. So that's where that clarity comes in, because now they know what they're supposed to do or what they are supposed to focus on. So next time when they started, everybody was focused on actually getting or catching the red balloon. So this is what the red balloon theory is like. Whenever you have to prioritize, if you are confused, ask your leader, hey, what is the red balloon that I have to catch this week? Right? Because having that clarity ensures that you are focused on the right thing, and you set the right expectation with your leader, and then you can set the right expectation with your team as well. If you don't know, don't assume. Always ask for clarity. Even if you have to reiterate on something, ensure that you always get that clarity, because that is what you will have to deliver. So you can just send your leadership a note, hey, I'm going to focus on A, B, and C this week with the priority in that order. Do you agree? Can I continue? So just that one note on a Monday, that works. I do that day. Every Monday I send my manager like, hey, these are the things I'm focusing on this week. Let me know if I need to shift focus or if I'm missing anything. That sets the expectation, that sets the clarity, and both of us know what I am working on, and I know what his expectation is as well. Mentorship. This is one of the most important thing. And to have somebody, who is in your corner, it matters, because you are shifting into an unknown territory for you. So have at least like 1 to 2 trusted people, right? Could be within your organization, could be outside. I had people, through my I'm active participant in the ERG here, so I have people from there. My manager, well, again, I was fortunate enough to have my manager as well as a mentor to me. So use those people as a sounding board whenever you are stuck at something, or if you do something and you're confused. Just have a quick call with them or a chat with them and say, hey, this is the situation I'm in. I'm trying to do this. Do you think this is the right way? They may not have all the answers, but at least they have their experience to share. They can guide you, they can give you some suggestions. But having those people, having someone to talk to, it really matters, and it's really important, because that creates a safe space for you to vent out. Because sometimes this journey is hard. It's not very easy. It's not that easy. So maybe if it is even to just vent out, you need someone, and you need them to be your trusted people. So have that people. Make sure you create space for yourself to talk freely, and have that environment. And again, always continuously check in with them, right? You don't need to have an issue to talk to them, but just have a conversation with them, maybe every other week or every 3 weeks, once a month, however it works for you and your mentor. And always catch up on what growth you have made over the last year. One of the guidances that I always received was like, make sure you write down all your achievements. So I still do it. Like every year, I have a fresh note or a Google Doc, and I write down whatever I achieve, even if it is the smallest thing. I do write it down so that I can see the growth in me, right? I can see my notes from last year, and I can see what I've achieved this year. It really shows you your growth, and that actually gives you a lot more confidence than you think. So have your mentors, find your tribe, and that's really key. I mean, it's not just when you're moving from an IC to a manager, but in general, find your mentors, find that tribe. Now, some of the things that comes in your way, and especially for me, these were some of the key things that came in my way when I was in that journey of shifting from an IC to manager. Pride and ego, 100%, because as an IC, I was really good at what I did. Yeah, so I was a strong individual contributor. I had my suggestions, I had my opinions, and I was really good at what I did. Now, when you are shifting into the leadership role, the thing is, you have to take a step back. being a leader is enabling others to do things, making way for others to do the task. So you really need to learn the art of letting go. That was the hardest part for me, because a lot of examples. So there were a lot of tickets out there that we had to work on, we had to prioritize. And anytime I look at it, I was like, hey, I can do it in 5 days. Why should I let it go? So that tendency, once you're an IC, you can do things, how fast you can do things. And if you are being part of the team for some time, you would know how much time the others would take too. So it was really hard for me to not take some of the work, and save it for myself, and make sure I spread it across the team. It was a very hard thing. So letting go, that pride and ego, and saying, no, I don't have to do this. My job is to let the team take it and learn from it. So even if it takes more time, let them learn and let them do it. That was a very hard part. It was really hard for me to do it, but it was a slow and steady, it was like a progress I did over the 6 months. And I would say the progress was complete maybe to 90% in the last 1 year. So that is a really important growth area if you're when you shift from IC to manager, because that mindset shift has to happen. It is very important. Second one, resistance to feedback. So it's both. It's feedback. It is uncomfortable when you are giving feedback and when you're receiving feedback, because especially when you have been really good at something you have done so far, and now you're switching and you're getting a lot of constructive feedback. It is a bit hard to accept everything, and to tell yourself you are in the growth path, and this is okay, this is for your own good, right? Because for someone who has been a really really amazing engineer, and then now when you're switching, you will get a lot of constructive feedback on how you can improve or what is expected out of you. So be open to it. It will be uncomfortable in the beginning, but whenever you get the feedback, action upon it, right? Understand that it's for your own growth, and you have taken the step and you want it as a career growth. So take it, see what you can do, and you have to be intentional when you apply that feedback. So you will slowly see that growth in you. There were a lot of feedback on myself when I started, because there are a lot of things I had to start thinking about when I became a manager, about when I speak something, how does the team take it? Because, the dialogue from Spider-Man, with great powers come great responsibility. So it is true. When you have that title of being a manager, you do have a lot of responsibilities that come with it. So one is to make sure your team is comfortable, because you might be the one to deliver a lot of good plus bad news to the team, and you need to ensure they take it the right way, or they are comfortable receiving that news or whatever it is as a whole. So the way you speak, the way you deliver, it all matters. So that was a really hard thing for me, because being an IC, I never had to think about that on, hey, if I have a problem, I just openly say about it. But being a manager, I had to articulate the way, I had to pace, I had to control the pace at which I talk. Because one of the feedbacks, if you believe it or not, was like, when I'm nervous, I tend to speak a lot faster than I am normally. So there are people who actually know that, and when I talk in that when there is a change in the way I speak, it used to tend to make people more uncomfortable, because they thought there is something wrong, or I'm going to deliver some bad news. So there was a lot of things that you have to work on, and receiving this kind of feedback, it might not be pleasant at the beginning, but as long as you understand that it's for your own growth, you can just slowly start working on it, and you will see the progress over the years or over the span of time that you are making the transition. Now the second part is giving feedback. Now that is real. I really learned that giving feedback is as an actual art. You cannot just give feedback in any way. You cannot be just blunt about it. You have to sugarcoat some of it, but at the same time, you have to deliver the feedback the right way so that they understand what the feedback is about. So delivering constructive feedback is literally an art. That is something you have to work on. There are different techniques out there that you can look up, and that will let you know how you can deliver these. But that is another thing that is really uncomfortable, because as a manager, whether it's on the performance review or when someone is not working well with the team, you do have to deliver that feedback to the person individually, and it may not be always um, you know um, nice. So that is one thing. Lack of opportunities, again, when you want to move to this position, even if you prove yourself out, sometimes depending upon the team, the organization, the timing, there might not be an opportunity, but just keep on building on it, right? You just keep on building your experience. When you see an opportunity, jump into it and just take it. And there is a limited amount of time you wait for getting that opportunity within your team. If not, always look for the opportunity outside. If your team is supportive, they would always be open and they will always respect your decision to move out. But again, it's your growth, it's your career. So always keep an open mind about it when you do this transition. Well, that was it from my side. So as I close, the biggest message that I want to leave with you is that the move from IC to manager, it is not just a role change. It is a completely different mindset, and it's a mindset shift. It is about moving from personal contribution to collective impact, and it's about learning to influence, support, guide, and create clarity for others. And most importantly, it usually begins long before anyone gives you the title. My own journey, it was not perfectly planned and it was not a straight line, but every step taught me something about ownership, adaptability, communication, and leadership. Looking back, what mattered most was not waiting for the permission to grow. It was being proactive, staying open to feedback, taking responsibility, and asking for opportunities when I was ready. If you're someone who is considering management, I would encourage you to start where you are. Look for ways to lead without authority, build the trust and your sphere of influence. Be clear about your goals. Those small actions are what prepare you for bigger transitions. Thank you, and I hope some part of this journey helped you, today.
Thank you, Indu. That was an excellent presentation. So now, does anyone have any questions for Indu related to her transition from IC to leadership? All right, I see a hand. Can't see your name, but the one who has a face up.
You are on mute.
Yeah, you're still on mute.
Yeah.
Still muted. Thank you for the presentation. I have one question on the culture of teams, right? How do you foster team alignment and communication, especially when you're managing global teams across different cultures and time zones?
So one thing is about being aware. First thing is, like, as a manager, you should be aware that, okay, there is cultural difference, right, in the way it's different. There are, whether it, again, like I said, my team is India, Canada, US. So there is accepting the fact that there is that cultural difference and the way people work, it is important. And there are different books out there that can help you understand what are some of those differences, right? I mean, some things you can see in the way you work, and the others is like maybe through some research that you understand. So one thing that I usually do is I let people to be completely autonomous, even though whenever there is something to be decided, right? I mean, as a team, we decide, we talk. Being open and creating a safe space to talk is the first thing, so that anything that comes because of these cultural differences can be resolved. So that's one thing. You have to make sure there is no conflicts arise because of the way they work, because of the mindset that each of us have. So having that safe space for people to talk about the issues without it being a major conflict, it matters. And again, as long as you base your decisions based on the facts and not based on how people work, things resolve automatically, right? Because end of day, our goal is to deliver something to our customers, or your goal is to deliver something to your leadership or as part of your organization. So that collective goal is something that we should not lose sight of, and making sure everyone has a space to say what they want in a respectful manner, and take the feedback, the individual feedback, outside of a team setting. That's another thing that I have seen, because not everybody takes it the same way. So always take that outside. The personal or the cultural impact should not come in when you talk within a team. If you see something like that, take it outside of the team, but make sure you communicate that one-on-one to them and say, hey, this is not something that we expect from you in a team setting, right? There is that culture that you have to set within your team, that you respect everybody, no matter where you come from or what you are or who you are. You respect each other. You are free to bring your ideas and thoughts. It might conflict with others because, hey, everybody is a different individual, so everybody have their own thoughts. But bring your facts, right? Bring your facts, and then we talk about it, and it's a collective decision as a team. And end of day, it is not personal. It's not like, hey, your idea versus my idea. It is about what can we do best to solve this problem. So that's what you have to focus as a team. So yeah, these are some of the things that should help, when you work across cross-cultural teams as well. So just being respectful of everybody and making sure everybody is heard and giving them that opportunity to say what they want and bring their ideas to the table.
That was great. Thank you for taking my question.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you for your question. Any other questions for Indu? I have a question.
Yes.
Oh, wait, hold on, maybe Divya.
Yeah, thank you, Indu, for sharing us your insights of your journey, and it was really inspiring to hear it about. I just have a question in this competitive world, for a one position, there will be multiple people competing for that. And as an individual contributor and without a management background, how did you equip yourself, and what are the most important skills that you have learned and grown so that to be a successful in a manager position?
Great question, Divya. So first one, agree, it's a highly competitive world, right? And there are a lot of people for the same position. But one of the things that I feel is, like I said, right, be open up, right? Just ask for the opportunity, because even if there is an opportunity, there are a lot of people out there as well. A lot of people tend to not ask for it because they think they are not ready or they may not qualify for that position. So first and foremost is just ask for it. I would have never got this position if I never asked. When I saw there was an interview happening within my team, I could have just been like, okay, it is for my team and they're already interviewing candidates and I should not apply. And other thing is like, the fear of rejection, right? Oh my God, what if I'm not fit for it, right? And I still have to come back and work in the same team. So those are some of the things that creep in, but that's okay. It's okay. Until you take a shot at it, you will never know if you get it. So one of the things that I would say is just apply. I mean, even if it's an external one thing I have noted is don't wait for it to match 100% of your or your skill set. As long as you see it's a position that you want, apply for it. So one thing I have learned in my entire career is that don't wait for it or find the perfect position. Just ask for the opportunity. Sometimes it will work, or sometimes it may not, right? I mean, but unless and until you ask, you will not get it. So that is one. Skill sets, I would say, as a leader, and from what I have seen from the leadership, people who communicate well, right? I mean, communication is a really important part of it. So communication, it really matters. One thing is, as a leader, a lot of soft skills matter. It's not just your technical skill, because as an IC, you are already a strong technical person. So so one thing you have sorted, right? So you can answer the technical side of it as a manager. So you are already confident on that. The other things that matters is how do you build your soft skills. One is communication. That is really important. How do you communicate? And it's different types, right? How you communicate with your peers, how you communicate with the team, how you communicate with your leaders. Those are all three different types of communication. Learn that, right? You might have to take a course. I do take a course so that I know how to communicate to each of these three groups, right? One of them needs a bigger subset of data. Some of them don't need that much context, right? So understand your audience and learn how to communicate. So communication, it's key. Prioritization. showing them that, hey, you know how to prioritize, right? Or you can ask the right question so that you can prioritize matters. So taking that proactive leadership, and whenever there is a situation in your team, raising your hands and saying, hey, yeah, I can volunteer for this. Let me take this and I'll lead this, and I'll take this, I'll get back to you with what needs to be done. That right there shows that, yes, you are someone who can take leadership, right? You are not a manager, you are an IC, but still you are willing to take the leadership position. You are willing to lead, and willing to lead means you need to now get back with the team, right? Discuss with the team. There might be conflicts, and you might be coming back with a single answer after resolving the conflict. So that is another point. Conflict resolution is another thing. So even if you are an IC and you are, let's say, in a meeting, you are discussing some designs, how do you resolve the conflicts that come into it, right? The way you discuss, right? It's not like how you approach those different opinions, right? Are you just outright shutting them down, or are you like, hey, that's a good idea, but I think this would be better because of these facts. So as long as you present the facts, you don't discourage others from bringing their ideas, and can actually manage conflict. That really matters too, because you, as a manager, that is one of the really key part of your job. You need to know when to stop a discussion, when you should resolve a conflict outside of the meeting, right? Or when you can say, okay, hey, this is something with a strong, you should also sometimes come in strongly and say, hey, no, this is what we are doing too. So some of those things you can do it without having that role. Sometimes you may not be able to do it in a meeting, but make sure, if you have that perspective, you take it offline and just send a note to your manager and say, hey, in this meeting this happened, I think we can do it this way much better. So taking the ownership in different ways sets you apart from others as well. So these are some of the things skills you can build, and these are really important for you to become a manager in this in this world, I would say.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for your question. Before I ask my question, let me remind everyone, or maybe tell you if I haven't told you already, go to the chat and make sure you drop in your section, because in that way I'll go back and update our event thing so that your section gets credit for a we event. Since you're here, to me, it seems like your section is here. So make sure you go in the chat and drop your section name so that we can give your section credit for having co-hosted a we event. Now, my question for you, Indu, you've talked a lot about it in terms of communication and the importance of communication. Now, related back to feedback, which you were talking about in that last slide, how having a multi-continental team do you address feedback? Because I've always heard one of the things you want to do is be able to give someone an example, not just say, oh, you did a great job, but you did a great job because or you didn't do this, you didn't do this because I noticed this. So how do you manage that globally dispersed? Over.
So time zones is it's a really big it's a pain, but you have to make some hard choices, right? Because there is no way you can work in the same time zone or have more visibility into what each other does unless you talk. So one of the things that we did that we do is like having a stand up or having that deliberate time set up to make sure. It might be early in the day for folks here in Canada, but it's late in the time for India as well, right? So you have to make that choice. Both of them have to compromise, but it's not. And again, we decided something once a week so that we have visibility into what is being done, but without being that too much every day. So finding that right balance was it was a challenge, because we started off with 3 days a week and then we cut it down to 2 days so that it accommodates everybody. But having that visibility, right, having that one-on-one conversation, sometimes it will be late in the night for my time so that it's morning for them. So you have to have that compromise so that we accommodate both the time zones and we respect everyone's working hours. So at that time we do have those discussions. We have both technical conversations and one-on-ones, everything set up so that we have real visibility into what they are doing, what is the problems they are facing, and what can we do to help. Because one thing that is which is a global truth is, right, when you are in two different time zones, sometimes you really work like a different team, because especially the time difference that we have, they come kind of work like a different team. So a lot of time we have to give them the autonomy to do it, so that they don't have to wait on us to get answers or work on something. So that was one of the things that we really worked on as well when we started setting the team back up, because we don't want them to be always waiting for folks here in the US to come up online and give them the test, because it was not something that was scalable or sustainable anytime. So one thing we made sure is like understand the skill sets, like once they join, understand the skill sets. So that really took a lot of one-on-one conversations, weekly, or not weekly, so twice a week, session, stand-ups with them, so that we know in detail what they are doing. We use a lot of async communication, perspective of that, so that we respect everyone's time. So everything we ensure that, make sure whatever work you do, questions you have, is put it in a common channel, not like a DM, because that limits your visibility of the work that you're doing, right? If you just DM me, hey, I know, but nobody else know what you're working on, right? You're lacking visibility there. So use a wider channel so that you gain the visibility that you deserve, right? And again, if you need help with something, one or the other, right? So whoever comes first is going to help you out. You don't need to wait on a specific person at that point. So we increased some of the async communication. We had these stand-ups so that we go in detail, 1 hour stand-up, so that they could get their questions answered. But as and when we learned more about how they work, what is each individual's strong points, we gave them more autonomy so that they can work in their own time zone and more independently. But they do say, we do have the stand-up so that we still know what they're working on, what they're delivering. And we with the delivery, we always know like what is the impact they're creating for our customers. So that serves as a platform for us to have those conversations and say, hey, you know what, you delivered this and that was a great job, but this was something from the channel. We do have proof as well, right? When you put it in a common channel, that's where you can see the number of conversations you have had, whether it was really up to the mark of the delivery that we expect from the team or that person or not. So we could easily see that in there. So those were the points that we usually use for our conversations too.
Nice. You'll have to give us another presentation just talking about some of your processes, or come here to the Huntsville section to our Technology and Engineering Management Society and talk a little bit about your processes of, doing things across the globe asynchronously. That might be pretty cool. But once again, thank you, Indu, for presenting to us tonight. I know I enjoyed your presentation, and it certainly gave me a new perspective on what it's like being on both sides of that equation in the office place. And once again, I look forward to working with you more.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So I do have some slides to share to finish up so that you all can have a couple of announcements. Let's see. Actually need to go back one slide. Yeah, I'll put it in presentation mode, but hopefully you all see that. Basically, if you enjoyed tonight, make sure you come back over the next several months, because we definitely have more speakers coming and talking to, actually, most of them will be talking about artificial intelligence, AI. So you could almost call it our AI summer series, because AI is very popular and there are a lot of spins that you can take on that. So we're going to be hearing quite a few presentations related to AI, and we're scheduled all the way out through September. It's only October that I'm still planning out, and you may be interested. You can always email me, but I also may bring in somebody from the region just so you all can get a little more information about IEEE Region 3 and some of the things that may be going on that may be beneficial to you, so that you can get the most out of your IEEE membership. But yes, we have speakers scheduled, but never hesitate if you have something you would love to present to us. Our monthly meetings are just for that. The other thing I want to make sure I talk to you all about is We Day 2026. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Indu is a We Day ambassador as well. And I think we may have a couple others in the region. So I'm going to see if I can get all their contact information so that we can, see a way to approach this. But bottom line is we are looking for 100% participation from the sections when it comes to IEEE We Day. We Day is June 29th, but basically the week before and the week after are times when you can do activities that will allow it to count for We Day. And it can be any activity. We're talking anything from panel discussions, case studies. It could just be a forum. You could talk about the IEEE Code of Ethics, like an ethics session. It could be well, it's June, so maybe not K through 12 outreach, but there may be summer camps, basically anything that allows us to bring attention to the women engineers that we have in our organization, as well as women engineers throughout all the other engineering organizations and societies that may exist, as well as inspiring girls to continue to be interested in engineering and science. That's what it's all about. And once again, we're looking for participation from all of our sections with We Affinity groups for We Day. And once again, it could be anything to a social. So you might say, I don't have enough people to do an outreach. Well, maybe you need to do a networking social so that you can find your additional We members within your section. But it's really open. We just want you to host some sort of event during that 2-week period. And then with that, I'll open it for any questions that anyone may have, because there's always a few questions here and there that someone may have. So if you have any questions, you can ask it now before we go to adjournment. Yes, Shauna.
Oh, you're good. You remembered. I've only been here once before.
Hey, I'm glad you're back, and I look forward to seeing you the rest of the time.
But I wanted to make the other weers aware that for the first time in many, many decades, Region 3 is going to be hosting the Digital Aviation Systems Conference that's sponsored by the Aerospace and Systems Society, as well as IAII. They're going to have a drone competition, and for the weers, there's going to be a reception that's going to be hosted, and this is for international. This is an international event. It's not strictly limited to avionics. There will be AI as one of the topics. Drone both goes to conventional avionics as well as other, as well as, the unmanned aspect. There's usually a wide attendance. I'm going to try and put it in the chat. We are out on the web, of course. I have to talk to it because I went to vTools and we weren't in there, but it's in Orlando, and it's the 13th through the 17th of September. And I realize that's a little bit off, but if you know people that are going to go together or that would want to attend, there is single day attendance. It's at the Doubletree Hotel, which is also right by Universal Studios, they said. So could mix a little business with a little more pleasure and join the week conference. And there are special rates. It's all on the word for members, for students, for lifers.
So it is a IEEE sponsored conference, and it's in
You bet.
in conjunction with AIAA.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's been that way for 45 years.
Oh, wow. Longer than I've been alive. Cool.
You look so young. I've never guessed.
Oh, you didn't guess. I'm not 45.
You don't look it. Do not look it.
Better not. Okay, that's cool. Make sure you drop some of that in the chat. I tried to get it. Digital Aviation Conference.
Yeah.
Being held in Region 3. What I've also dropped in the chat is the email for, well, actually, some people don't like when I use that one. They wig out over the domain being Gmail. So r3-we@ieee.org. Because I mentioned about the We Day, but in addition to We Day about holding events, you're like, oh, you just cost me some more money. At the region level, I have a budget for section support. I can match your expenditures, not dollar for dollar, but let's say maybe probably 50%. But I can match your funding that you may have for conducting activities. I have section support budget money. Therefore, if you want to host an event, I can help you host an event. Therefore, feel free to email me at r3-we@ieee.org for more of that. I see Shauna has the DASC, DASC online.org/2026 URL there for those who are interested in a digital aviation conference. There was one other thing is kind of escaping me. I think I might have hit on it with the email me for budget money, but I believe that's it. Are there any other announcements that anyone may have or any final questions? If going once, going twice. All right, well, 6:59 Central Time. So thank you all for coming out. Oh, I know what the last thing was. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Global they have been considering sponsoring I'll say probably an exhibit booth at the Big Thinkers Conference, which is also going to be in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken, or somewhere in that general vicinity, maybe Disney or something like that. But they're thinking about sponsoring, but they'll only sponsor if they have local volunteers who can man the table. They don't want to, pay for a table and nobody's there to hand out items. Sandra's familiar with that at our Southeast Con where we had a wee table, but we had some people there to watch it. Therefore, if you are in that, I think a Central Florida related area, kind of around Orlando, once again, r3-we@ieee.org if you want to know more about manning the wee table at the Big Thinkers Conference. And, we can discuss that about schedules, times, and, your availability and if we can get that done. So that
When
was the last thing I
when
wanted
is
to say.
when is the Big Thinkers Conference?
Don't don't make me lie. I want to say it's in October because I
Okay.
looked at the prospectus, but we believe the prospectus actually didn't have a date on the front.
Okay, I'll reach out to you. Yeah.
On their website, I'm seeing 23rd to 24th October.
Okay, I thought it was
Is
October,
that?
but
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
23 and 24 October apparently in Disney
Okay.
Springs.
Okay, I'll reach out to you. So
Please do, please do. Thank you. But with that, I am done, and it's only 7 o'clock. So I hope you all enjoy the rest of your month, and I look forward to seeing you all next month to hear our next presentation. Good night.
thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.